Hello, and welcome to HRAI's In the Air, an online broadcast covering HVAC news, events, and issues. Today, we are joined by HRAI President and CEO himself, Sandy MacLeod. Sandy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Matt. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Well, as you know, Sandy, you've seen the videos. We'd like to get to know a little bit more about yourself, your history in the industry, and just HRAI as well from your perspective. So maybe we'll start with, when did you join HRAI? Was it... what was it that drew you to the association and the institute?
So, I was fortunate to have the opportunity to join the association when Warren Healy retired in 2018. And Warren had done wonderful things with HRAI for quite some time. He'd been with HRAI for about 30 years, more than 30 years. And I was looking to make a change, and I was interested in joining a role that was going to be intellectually stimulating, that had a Canadian footprint, so something that was not necessarily just Toronto-based or just Ontario-based, and something that was a growth industry. My history previously had been media, and spent a number of years in the media space, and very much enjoyed it, but it's a tough space. Media is pressured. I specifically was in print media, which is very pressured. So it was a great opportunity to make a change, and this industry is absolutely intellectually stimulating. There's a lot going on. We are well positioned across the country. And for the most part, when I speak to members, we're doing well.
So what is it that you see HRAI providing its members? What are some of those key services?
HRAI is unique in the HVAC space in North America, in that we represent the three primary channels of the industry. So, clearly the manufacturers who build the products we use, the wholesalers and distributors that basically bring the equipment into the market, and then the contractors that purchase the equipment from the distributors and install it in both commercial and residential homes and such across the country. So when we look at the services that we provide, we need to be thinking about the three channels. We hear pretty regularly that the advocacy work that we do for the industry seems to be number one. When people talk about what is it they want from HRAI, they want to make sure that there's a voice that can be heard, and when there's an issue, whether it be national, regional, and now we're even seeing municipalities get into the game, which is relatively new. We didn't necessarily used to do a lot of work with, say the city of Edmonton or the city of Ottawa or Toronto. Tended to be more provincial and federal. And now we've got the third tier of government. So that seems to be kind of the key thing that people are looking for from us. But when you have a diverse base of members, it's not, everybody doesn't want the same thing. So communications tends to be a pretty big element of, what it is we do. And that's really just people need to trust us. They need to have a source where they can go for information. And HRAI for many is that, critical point to be able to ensure they know what's going on in the industry. Prior to COVID, networking was a pretty important piece of what we've done, and we hope to be back into that game in the not too distant future. The first 2 years I was with HRAI, I flew about 80,000 miles each year, and when you figure that most of those flights were within Canada and the northern part of the US, that was a lot of flights, meaning it's not like I was going to China 4 times and, got to 80,000 miles.
Right.
But that was all networking opportunities. That was, pulling meetings together in various parts of the country, making sure HRAI was, represented properly in those meetings. So, it wouldn't be uncommon for, for me and Martin both to, attend a meeting in Halifax and then 3 days later attend a meeting in Vancouver. And then on the way back, pop in and see some members in Winnipeg.
Right.
So networking has, been a big part of what we do in the past. And, now we're using, techniques like this, like webinars, and they kind of cross between communications and networking. It's a kind of a way to bring some faces together. But I think there's still going to be a pretty big demand for in-person. And then training is something that we're, big into, and we will be, continue to be, meeting the needs of today and then the needs of tomorrow. So, those are kind of the key services that we offer. I do want to, put a little bit of a plug in for CMPX, which is coming up at the end of March. So if you haven't put that in your calendar yet, you should, the 23rd to the 25th. And we're hoping the COVID restrictions will allow that to all happen.
Knock wood.
In about 8 weeks.
Excellent. You speak a lot about networking communication. With 1,200 members all over Canada, how do you know you're meeting those member expectations?
So, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that all associations face. And when I first joined, I think we were doing a lot of really good things. And as I said earlier, I think, Warren had done, a great job in building up a very stable organization. What was lacking, though, was the ability to measure that success. So one of the things that we started doing in 2018 is we put in place quarterly surveys. So we now survey 500 members every quarter, and we've been doing it since 2018. So, we now have a fair amount of data. We have a pretty good understanding of, where we stand on things like member satisfaction. We're not guessing. We actually have a number. We know that, that number is average for associations, but it's growing. So we've been seeing that number move up pretty consistently from when we first started doing this in 2018 up until today. And we have growth numbers, for the future. We track also, how members think that we're doing on meeting their government relations needs, how easy it is to be heard, and even communications. I mean, one of the things that we ask members on a quarterly basis is, our communication efforts meeting your needs. And we've done very well on that particular aspect, moving it from the original numbers were in the high 60s, and we're now flirting with an 80% satisfaction level on communication. So how do we know? Data.
Yep, the hard numbers. So I mean, you're one great team, but you're a busy team. How can members get involved in HRAI initiatives?
So what's unique about associations is that they're about volunteers. The only reason an association exists is you have volunteers who have a common interest, and they have common wants, they have common needs. They like to talk to people who are having common problems. And what's good about an association is it allows members to come together, have conversations around. You still there, Matt?
I am. No, sorry. I think we had a little bit of a hiccup, but you were talking about what it allows for members to do.
Yeah, sorry about that. So the association world, actually allows, people to come together and do so in an environment that's safe. The Competition Act in Canada frowns upon competitors getting together to talk about business issues. When you do it inside the tent of an association with staff involved, we're able to do that kind of in a non-threatening way. And there's a number of ways that members can get involved. They can attend a chapter meeting. They can join a discussion group. We had a recent trade issue in Atlantic, Canada, that we had great participation in from local members. You can participate on a task team, and that's something that's usually identified to kind of solve a problem and has a little bit of a a life to it, usually 3 to 6 months. A good example of that is a task team we put together working with NRCan on greener homes. You can participate on a standing committee, and a standing committee is something that has a significant lifespan, usually runs over a number of years. One of the ones that we're currently relaunching is our Emerging Trends Committee, and they deal with just exactly that issue. What are some of the emerging trends in the marketplace, and making sure that we bring those back to the membership base. And then, of course, people can join a divisional board of directors as well. So, it's a matter of reaching out to HRAI, saying you're interested. We put notices out about all these types of things, and get involved. That's the key issue.
Yeah, and you can find that contact information on your e-news, on your website. So it's pretty easy to reach out for sure. Well, speaking of plugs, there is a webinar coming up on February 8th. Can you tell us what that's about?
Yes, this just goes back to the issue of communication. So we reach out to members in many ways, and this is just a new approach that we're going to start doing on a quarterly basis. We have been investing pretty heavily in our government relations team in the last 2 or 3 years. We are more active than ever with that team. The team is larger than it's ever been. And this webinar, which we're going to do quarterly, will be an opportunity for members to hear directly from members or from participants in the government relations team on just exactly some of the files that they're working on. Now, this will continue to be an addition to some of the things that we already do. So we put out specific notices and press releases on key issues. Our newsletter always has government relations types of issues. This is just yet another way of being able to communicate with the membership base, because different people like to get messages in different ways. So I would absolutely encourage people to sign up for the 1-hour session on February the 8th, and we'd love to see you there.
Great. So lots of different channels to get involved, to get updates, to kind of stay connected to HRAI is what I'm hearing. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sandy. I got to know a little bit about you and what's going on your side of the HRAI.